Welcome, and thank you so much for being here in this webinar talking about how porn might influence our teenagers. And I'm very excited that you are here because I think it's not obvious that parents are coming to this presentation to talk about that. I know it might be a sensitive topic to address, so I'm very excited that you are here. And we're going to start with the presentation right away. And as we go, I also share some housekeeping so you will know what to expect and how I can make this space a safe space for you all. All right, so let me just share my screen. Oh, hold on. Actually, I'm not sharing the right one. So give me a second. I always make that mistake. Okay, all right. So we're going to talk about the influence of pornography on our teenagers, or the possible influences of pornography on our teenagers. And I actually want to start with a story. So one of the women that I am, that came to me regarding pornography, she shared with me that her daughter told her that she saw pornography at a friend's house. And the woman was, she talked with her daughter about pornography and they addressed the situation, but she also asked me, Michal, should I tell the other mother that her daughter is also watching pornography? And my answer was, of course, you should. And then she asked me, but why? Like, why it's so important that I'll talk to her? Like, I feel embarrassed. I'm not sure it's like my place to talk about that with the mother. And I asked her, well, if it was smoking, if it was drugs, if it was alcohol, would you actually go to the mother and talk with her about what her daughter is doing? And she said, of course. And I told her, well, you know what? When it comes to pornography, I see it as the same. I see it the same responsibility for us to talk about that topic and the same, I don't want to say like the same impact, but it's as important as those other topics. And in this webinar, I'm going to share with you why I believe that this is as important as talking with our teenagers about drugs, smoking, or alcohol. So you are in the right place, and I'm very grateful that you are here. If you care about your teen's future and you don't want them to have negative sexual experiences. You talk to your teen, but feel insecure or awkward regarding what to say or when to say. And you're in the right place if you aren't sure if your teen has been exposed to porn and maybe watch it regularly. And also you're in the right place if your teen doesn't share with you their sexual questions or struggle. So don't worry if any of those apply to you, you're in the right place, and we're going to talk about that. And here's what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to share with you a lot of data about teens' exposure to porn and about porn in general. I'm also going to talk about the ways that porn might influence our teens' sexual behavior. And also, we're going to talk about why talking to our teens is important and why it's matter. And a few housekeepings, because as I shared, I want you all to feel that this is a safe space. So we're going to be here for 1 hour. I'm very committed to finish on time because I respect everyone's time. I'm recording that. However, your camera is, however, you can see that your cameras are off, and also you're muted, because I don't want you to feel that anyone can see you, no one can hear what you have. And also for that, also only I can see the chat. So it's private, and which will allow you to ask me anything. When I answer questions, I'm not saying who asked that question. So I always protect your privacy. Also, if anything in this presentation will trigger anything, please take self-care. Please, if you need to step aside from the webinar for a few minutes, completely fine. Just I want to know that you're taking care of yourself. And also, all of you are gonna get my free guide on how to start the conversation about pornography today. So everyone who attend this webinar today will see will get that guide. And also at the end, I'm going to share with you how I can help you further. And another thing is that as I go through the presentation, there will be stops where I will answer questions. So feel free to ask me on the chat. And when we pause, because I also need to drink, then I'm going to answer questions. So you can always ask me on the chat through the presentation. So let me introduce myself. So I'm Michal Cohen, and I'm a parent sex and porn educator. I've been working in this field in the past 6 years, and I've been helping parents to start the conversation with their children about sexual topics and about pornography. And I also have 2 teenagers. One is 14 and one is 12. This is not an updated picture because I don't know about you, but my boys refuse to take a picture with me, not to mention together. Always someone is like not having a smiley face. So that's the latest photo that I was able to get of both of them that actually makes me smile. And what I want to share with you that because of my profession, they hear and I talk with them a lot about sex and pornography. And I really set the environment that there are no taboos in our house. And it allows them also to feel that they can ask me anything and they can talk about anything. And it's my intention to show them that I'm willing to talk about everything. However, I also know that it doesn't mean that they will come and ask me everything, or they will come and share with me everything. And this is why it's important for me to share with them the information, to be proactive and not just reactive. And I also know that it's a process. It's not like a one time, it's not a one discussion or one share. It's a process, but it really creates a deeper connection that I experience with my boys, and I want every parent to experience with their children. And quickly about why am I doing this? Why it's so important for me to talk with parents about pornography. So the first reason is that I am a worried mom. When they were born, I realized that I worry about them and for them. And then as they grew, I realized that it's not going away, and I still worry about them. And that's okay. And I also learned that, as I got more and more in the field, I realized that pornography is shaping our sex life, and pornography for their generation will even shape more their sex life. And for me, this is something that I believe that we as parents should address and can address. And I'm worried about their future sex life. And with that also comes my knowledge, even like from my own experience, that our children are unique. So I have 2 boys, but they are not the same. And the way I talk to them is not the same. And also we as parents, we are unique. So it's not about like finding one solution that fits everyone. It's really about figuring out the way that we can address this topic that is convenient for us or comfortable for us, and also our children can accept or can have that discussion for what they are able to talk about. But what really stand for me is the fact that if we're not going to talk, we actually give the power to others. And the way to actually address my worriness, but I hope that I will be able to show in the webinar, like all parents, like everyone's worriness about will porn will shape our future sex life, is real communication. And I really believe that the key to ongoing healthy connection is actually talking and starting to have that conversation. And trust me, if I can do it, you can do it too. I'm not a super mom. I am not a super wife. You can ask my husband. And I'm not Wonder Woman. I did had her custom for 2 years when I was 6 and 7, but that's top of Wonder Woman that I got. And I work with parents, and one of them, Kelly, she even shared with me that she really want to get connected to her son. He's 14, and she felt that he is becoming more independent and doesn't want to talk with her a lot. And we worked around, and she really wanted to share with him this information about healthy relationships and, sexual topics. And by actually finding a way to talk with him about it, she felt that her connection to him become deeper. And to me, that's what really important. So let's talk. I actually want to start with a quick and fun icebreaker. So I'm going to share with you 7 names, and you need to decide if that's a Ben and Jerry flavor or a porn flake. So the names are, and you're going to have 30 seconds to guess that. So the names are, and just like guess it in your head. So the names are American Corn Cream, Shreddy Balls, Chubby Hubby, New York Super Fat and Chunky, Late Night Snack, Harry Garcia, and Caramel Sutra. So you have 30 seconds to think in your mind, how would you, if each one of those names, is that a porn flake or is that a Ben and Jerry flavor? So 15 more seconds left. And then trust me, I'm gonna share with you the results. Don't worry. We have less than 10 more minutes. Seconds. All right, 5 seconds. All right, let's see the results. Okay, ready? So American Cream is a porn flake. Shreddy Balls and Chubby Hubby are Ben and Jerry's flavors. New York Super Fat and Chunky, porn flake. Late Night Snack is a Ben and Jerry flavor. Harry Garcia, porn flake. And Caramel Sutra is a Ben and Jerry flavor. So how did you do? Just if you got any of those wrongs, don't worry, you're in good company. Most of the parents have at least 1 or 2 mistakes. And a fun fact or fun story, I was in Israel in the last month, and I opened the fridge at my mom's house, and here it is, Caramel Sutra, the Ben and Jerry famous ice cream from my icebreaker. And that's actually the first time that I saw that ice cream. So that was a funny thing. Okay, so let's talk about pornography, shall we? All right, so when we are thinking about pornography, we are thinking there is like a variety of pornography options, right? There is pornography in magazines, there is literature, there are films, TV shows, and what there is also is online videos, where this is what we are going to focus today. And on online videos, there are 2 topics. There's amateur porn and also professional porn. And I'm not here to talk with you about, it's not about being pro porn or anti porn. I'm actually going to share with you accurate information so you can make the decisions for yourself if how you want to talk about that with your child. And because I believe that it's not about being pro porn or anti porn. Really, my job is really to share with you the information so you can take the next step with the talk with your teenager. And also, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, the legal age to view pornography is 18. So it's not about telling our children it's okay to watch pornography, and it's not about me saying that it's okay that teenagers are watching pornography. It's just also we need to know that, and we need to share with them as well, that pornography doesn't meant for teenagers, and it's actually illegal to watch pornography before the age of 18. Okay, so before we dive more into the pornography, I want to go with you quickly about key sexual development points at the age of 13 to 18, which is puberty. So what happened in puberty is that this is when our children start having all those sexual feelings, sexual thoughts, and the sexual exploration. They have those sex hormones that running through their body, and they have it's like exploding, right? And this is when they masturbate to orgasm. This is when they start having like sexual fantasies. This is when they're actually being horny. And if you'll go back to your teenager years, think about, like, did you have sexual fantasies? Were you horny? So this is something super normal that I'm sure that we also had some kind of experience when we were teenagers. With that also come big curiosity. They are curious. They feel like they understand more. They feel like they get things better, and they want to know more, like things happen in their body, in their mind, and they are very curious, including sexual curiosity. Another thing that happened in that age is that because they are more aware, they have this thought of, am I normal? So they start comparing themselves to others, whether it's their peers, whether it's celebrities, movie stars, or people they see on the media, or people they see on social media. And they have that in the back of their mind. They're not like coming to you and ask you, am I normal? But for whatever interaction they have with others, they have still, like, in the back of their mind, this thought of, am I normal? Another thing that happens during that age is the desire to be independent. And that's a good desire. We want them to be healthy, to have the healthiest tools, to be independent, to be able to be like a healthy grown up. So that's also something that we want to encourage them to have. But with this, the journey to be independent comes also taking risk. Now, many times when we hear about risk, we think about unhealthy risk. But let's just for a second remind ourselves that there are many healthy risks that we do want them to take. We want them to maybe, get their driver license. We want them to apply to college, to apply for a job. So all this is actually healthy risk. But also we have unhealthy risk, which might, it will take on, the curiosity, the desire to be independent, the sexual feelings or exploration they have. That might be a place that we want to actually minimize. So if we will think about it, that what we want for our teenagers, we want them to become healthy sexual adults. We want them to have healthy relationships. We want them to have positive body image. We want them to have or to practice consent. And we need to be aware that there is also the chances for pornography impact. So like how pornography might impact them. And we can ask ourselves how pornography might impact their relationship. Will they experience violence, for example? How pornography will influence their body image? Will they have low body image? And how pornography might experience their consensual experience in their partnership. So those are questions that I think that we as parents should ask ourselves as our teens go through puberty. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second for questions. And also, I always have my tea with me. I drink tea every evening. So give me a second, I'll take a sip, and also I'll check for questions. So 1 minute. So feel free to ask me any question if you have, if anything is unclear, if I'm running too fast, please let me know. Okay, so I see we're good, so we can continue. Perfect. So let's talk about a few facts about pornography. The average age of first-time exposure to porn content is 13 years. And I can share with you that latest research actually point out that the average age went down to 11. I prefer to stay on the 13 age, but definitely I know that when all the kids are carrying a smartphone, the age is dropping. So we can say 11, we can say 13, it's young. It's very, very young. We also need to remember that usually the first exposure is unintentional, meaning that they're not looking for pornography. It's either it was a pop-up, maybe they watched something and then, a porn flick just like popped up, or they went to a friend, the friend showed it to them, or they went to a friend and the friend had an older sibling that showed it to them. So the first time they're not looking for it. And what we do need to know is that by the age of 16, 80% of boys and 60% of girls have watched porn at least one time. And this number is high. It means that by the end probably of high school, the majority of boys and girls have been exposed to pornography. And for me, it just changed the question from it's not if our children are going to watch pornography, it's really about when, and are we going to talk with them before, or just even like make sure that we had a conversation with them about pornography. And I also want you to think about another fact. The average age of first time having sex in the US is 17 years old. And why it's important for us to think about it is that if let's take that the average age of pornography is 13. So we have those children that get exposed to pornography and see people having sex from the age of 13. And then the first time that the average will actually have, sexual activity and maybe sexual intercourse is 17. So for 4 years, even before they have like a very, a meaningful sexual experience, so for 4 years they were exposed to pornography. They saw something very specific about how sex should look like, even actually before the first time they ever had that. And I think this gap or this time is something that we need to be aware of, and that should make us understand why we need to address that. Okay, another great data I want to share with you is a research that was done in the University of Indiana. And what they did in the research, they actually took parents of teenagers that already knew that their teens were exposed to pornography. And they asked them about specific pornography exposure. And what I want to focus is about the gangbang porn, which is one too many, and also about facial ejaculation. And you can see that 5% of parents of boys and 1% of parents of girls thought that their teens were exposed to gangbang porn. Well, the reality was that 17% of boys and 10% of the girls actually were exposed to gangbang porn. And very similar numbers are for facial ejaculation. So 6% of parents of boys and 1% of parents of girls thought that their kids were exposed to facial ejaculation. Well, the true fact was that 20% of boys and 10% of the girls were exposed to facial ejaculation. And for me, what's really important is that actually the true numbers are double the parents' assumptions. So whatever we think, it's probably more. Or wherever we have a doubt, there's a higher chance that it's actually happened than that it's not happened. And we always, like, our mindset is to protect our children and to say no way they have watched that, or no way they were exposed to. But the reality shows that there's actually a higher chance that they did than didn't. So what do young people see on pornography? 69% have seen violence or aggression. And violence could be pulling hair during sex and choking, right? And 72% have seen non-consensual activity. 91% have seen a man dominating or controlling another person. And 70% have seen things that made them feel uncomfortable. And we need to understand that pornography has changed. It's rougher and it's harder. It's probably not the pornography that maybe for some of us when we were teenagers and, we saw maybe, a VCR, a video tape with pornography. That's not the pornography that our teens are being exposed to today. And think about it, who will, if that's what they see, who will tell them that it could look different? And when we are not talking about it, we actually saying that this is okay. And I want to pause here for a second, because everything that I shared with you up until now, it was not to scare you. That's not my intention. It actually comes from a place that I know that we all want to keep our teenagers safe and healthy. And what I do is I'm helping parents to actually start this conversation, because as I said, I really think that if we're not talking about it, then we actually sending a message that it's okay what they're seeing. And I want to, before, also talking about how we can talk, just a few things about how we can talk about it. Let's see how porn talks with them about sex. So what are teenagers searching for? So they want to learn about sex in general. and they want to learn how to get better at sex. They want to learn what people expect from them sexually. And also they want to get ideas for new things to try sexually. But I think that what I really want you to know, because for me, when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, is that girls in particular mention using pornography to learn how to meet boys' expectations. And I have boys, I don't have girls, but I'm a woman, I'm a female, and I don't want any girl to think that whatever she sees on porn, that's the expectation she has to fulfill when she is in a sexual a relationship with a boy. And I don't want any boy, including my boys, of course, to think that whatever they see on pornography, that's how they should behave. And that's the behavior they should expect to receive. And I think that we need to remember that. And we need also to understand that if I will not tell that to my boys and you will not tell that to your children, then how would they know that? And what does it mean? I don't know if you heard many people say that porn is for our teenagers sex ed. Well, they might learn about race and ethnicity in a very specific way. They might learn about body image, right? Penis size, breast. Remember that thought about, am I normal? So they keep comparing. So if they see something that it's not, their body looks different or have, penis size or breast shape or vulva shape, then they start comparing and they might think that something's wrong with them. Porn also have a very specific concept of relationship, or I might even say they don't have relationship. So there is no connection, there is no communication. There are no steps for having sex. It just, let's have sex, right? There is no like discussion about it. And also it shows us a very specific type of pleasure, very specific type of performance. The question of, does porn show consent and how to negotiate consent? And also porn definitely shows gender power and aggression way, a very specific way of on that topic. And lastly, before we continue, I want to share with you, this is a very late research from 2019. And they were checking in the UK, researching women between the age of 18 to 39. And a third of them showed that they had unwanted choking, gagging, slapping, or spitting during sex. And for me, this is hard. I don't want a third of women. This is a lot. And I'm sure that if that's the case in the UK, that's probably going to be the case in the US and actually probably globally. And I don't want that. I don't want any woman to experience that. And I don't want any men to think that they should do that, that's how they should act towards any woman. But I do think that it's actually showing us that porn not only suggests that violence against women is okay, it says that it is sexy. And for me, thinking about what I want to, in 10 years or 20 years, I want that research to have like lower rates of women that experience that. I know that it's probably not going to be zero, but I want to reduce those rates. And, thinking that in 20 years, the numbers are going to be the same or even higher because the porn exposure is higher, that terrifies me. And I don't want my boys to create that for any woman. And I don't want anyone's daughter to experience that, because that's a scar for life. And I really believe that the best solution is for us as parents to talk about that. So I'm going to continue in a second, but I just want to check if you have any questions. So if you do, please share. I'm going to answer them now. And if you do not have any questions, then we're going to continue. But I'm going to drink a little and then we're going to continue. But let me check for questions. I'm just reading the question. Give me a second. Okay, so great question that I have here about gay porn. So So I don't have the exact number about gay porn, but I can share with you that's definitely gay. Any LGBTQ plus people definitely have higher exposure to pornography, but for them, their experience on pornography might be different, because we actually know that for gay people, actually pornography is a helpful tool when they are teenagers to explore their sexuality, to see that there is actually normality in how they feel, the people they're attracted to. Sometimes it actually helps them to verify who they are, because they realize that it's okay if they're attracted to men, or they're okay if they're attracted, female to female. And so we know that actually for gay people, pornography might be helpful. However, we also need to remember that even in gay porn, there is a very specific story. There is a very specific, also like the body image is very specific, and the hierarchy is very specific. And they might also have somewhat of violence, sometimes less, sometimes the same. So we still need to talk about that. I also want to share that many times we as parents, we will not know what kind of pornography our teenagers are going to watch, because there is probably they're going to watch gay porn before they even know or tell us that they are gay. And we are not in a position to expose them. And also, it's just important for us to just, if you have a thought that maybe your child is gay, but don't pull them out of if they're not ready. But if you feel that, when you talk about pornography, if you feel that, also say to tell them that there are people who find like gay pornography as a way to help them identify themselves, then you can definitely say that. But just, and it's a great idea, but just be careful about that, and just know that yes, gay people will probably watch more porno, will be more exposed to, will use pornography more in a place of exploring their own sexual identity. So I hope it helped, it answered your question, but great question. Let me check if there is anything more. Okay, great, Yofi. Okay, great. So okay, let's talk a little about mistakes that parents are making when talking about sex and pornography. So the first mistake, and I did that also, is of saying, let's just tell our kids that porn isn't real, right? So if they talk about what is porn, or let's just talk with them and say, well, if you watch porn, just know that porn isn't real. And I think that this is not the right way to approach it, because porn is real. Porn is real people having real sex. The question is, what's not real in pornography? So what's not real is just knowing that this is part of a movie. It's not real relationships. It's not supposed to mimic real relationships. It's only sexual activities for adult people to, make them aroused, or to, sometimes it helps them to enjoy themselves. So having that of a way of explaining what is porn and what it's not, what's missing in pornography, where is the intimacy, so we need to shift the conversation from porn isn't real to porn is real. It is real sex, but it doesn't have so and so, like anything you feel that you want to share with your son or daughter that is missing in the pornography conversation. Another thing is that and again, like I'm a parent too, I totally get it, that it's not a priority for us. We have so many other important things that we need to take care of, and also need to take care of or address with our teenagers. We are like, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and there is like remote school or like other things, and there's always other things that happen in our life that for us is more important than the porn conversation. And I totally get it. But what I want you to think about it is that sex, or like sexual life, like once they're adults, they're going to have sexual experience through the entire life, right? And sex is going to be a major part of it. And we want them to have the most positive experiences as they, in their adulthood and in their adult life. And the best way to do that, if we will set the foundations for them to have that. And the only way we can do that, if we will talk with them, because we already know that there are other, that pornography is talking to them, or the media is talking to them. So knowing that sex is going to be part of their life, what do we want to have? What do we want them to have in that conversation? And another mistake is that we're making it only a one talk. Okay, so let's say I convince you, right? And it's like, okay, Michal, I get it. I'm going to have the conversation. So we're only going to have one conversation, and maybe share, porn is real, but you need to know that this and this, right? And we're done. And I want to encourage you to not stop in that conversation, because if you think about it, this is not a one-time conversation, because they are growing. The conversation at the age of 13 is probably going to be different than the conversation we want to have with them at the age of 15 or 16, when they start dating, when they start being like in a serious relationship, when we know, they're changing, and also we're changing. And actually, in every conversation we are having with them, we are we are making the foundation deeper. We are making our connection deeper. We are allowing ourselves to have a more serious conversation, because we already set the foundation. So it's important to start the conversation. We have to start somewhere, and we need to grow that conversation so we can continue supporting them as they grow, and even after the age of 18. And if you think about it, it's like, they're here in their age, they're, teenagers with all their devices, and like puberty time, it's like a maze. They're going, and we really want them to have the safest and best route to become healthy sexual adult. And they might have issues on the way. STIs comes from sexual transmitted infections, and they might have things that we really wish they wouldn't, but they might will. And we really want to give them the tools to come to us and ask for our support, and also know how to handle those, or how to get support, so they will not get stuck in those things, but actually be able to come back and go back to the to the journey of becoming healthy sexual adults. And I'm sure that that's what we all want for them. And yeah, it's just like, I know that I want that for my boys. So if you're here and you're asking yourself, okay, so when to start, like what is the right time to start? So if your son or daughter has Snapchat, have that conversation. If they are on Reddit, have that conversation. Reddit is a major hardcore pornography site. That doesn't mean that your child probably, saw that. However, the more they're going to use Reddit, at the end of the day, they will find the pornography, not because they will look for it, because Reddit will find them. If they have older siblings, have the conversation. If they have friends with older siblings, you need to have the conversation. If they commute on the yellow bus, I know that now less of the kids are using the yellow bus. If they go to an after school, the same. And also if they are at the age of 13, and we actually know now it's probably younger. But even if they're younger than that, think about the importance of just starting that conversation, because you're setting the foundation for a later conversation. And, think about it. And I know it's just, as parents, we want our teens to have positive sexual experiences. But in a way, we don't want to think about our teens having any sexual experience, right? It's like we contradict ourselves. And what happens is that we actually avoiding the conversation. Even many times we think, oh, it's important, but then we avoid it. And I want you to take back control on the conversation. I want to do that. I want you to do that. And how do we do that? Well, since I'm working with many parents, I realized that they have like lots of questions, lots of barriers to actually start a conversation, because they ask themselves, do I really want to start that conversation? or they ask themselves, how do I start talking about this topic, right? And they say, well, when to start, what to say. Like, we have so many questions that comes in the way, especially because this is such a sensitive topic. And I'm sure that for many of us, if not for all of us, our parents did not talk to us when we were teenagers about pornography. So think about even like how many times you delay or avoid the conversation, right? So you're like, oh, I need to do this, I need to talk about it. Here's like a great opportunity, and then you miss that, and then you didn't come back to talk about that. And I can even share with you that another mother that I worked with, she really want to talk with her daughter about sexual topics, and her daughter actually asked her questions, but and I was always busy, and she always looked for like the perfect time to have the conversation. And there is not, there isn't a perfect moment. And I worked with her to really have her just like have the conversation, and how she can go over her barriers to start having the conversation. And once she started, then it just flew, and the daughter kept asking her questions, and she really felt that it opened something that was not available for her and for her daughter before. And I want to encourage you to also don't delay that conversation. I had another mother, she asked me, well, Michal, but what if it's like too early to have the conversation? And I actually said that, you know what, there is in sexual topics, there is either too early or too late. What do we want to, what's best for us? What's best for our teenagers or our kids? I prefer to be on the too early side than the too late. And I also want to say that if we actually think about something, then it's probably the right time and not too early. So I really want to encourage you to invest in your relationship with your teen and their future. And I really believe that the way to do that is actually be open and have the conversation with them about this topic and other sexual topics. And think about like all the other things that you invest in them, right? Whether it's like a new phone or a new computer. My son, he's a gamer, he wants a new computer now. And we want them to be in the best schools, we want them to get to the best colleges, right? And we also need to invest in their sexual future. That's something that we probably forget because it's so maybe uncomfortable or awkward conversation to have, but that's really, really their future. And my passion is really to help parents to have meaningful conversations with their teens, and because I really believe that it creates the deeper connection for between them, and also it helps the parent to instill these positive thoughts about, you just name it, whether it's the positive relationships, positive body image, positive sexual experience. So all that, right? It's like things that I'm sure, I know for myself, but I'm sure you as parents want to share with your teenager. And that's really the place to empower our teenagers to make the best decision for them, that the right decisions for their future. So and this is something that you can start create right now. And I think like that's the biggest gift that someone can have between them, a parent to their children. And I want to just quickly share with you how you can work with me and how I can support you. So I have one-on-one consultation. I'm coaching parents and helping them to, go through the barriers and have the conversation, and even like going deep in a specific topic that is important for them. I also gonna starting February. Actually starting March, sorry, I'm going to have a masterclass when we're going to dive deep on health, on relationship dynamics, and I'm going to share my step-by-step process on how to have an effective conversation about relationship dynamics or any other sexual topic. And another thing that I have is I have my course on the conversations effect. And we're talking there about healthy relationships, consent, body image, and expected behavior with parents. And also, if there's anything else that you would love to get more support on, or another way of having me helping you, please reach out and let me know how I can support you. I'm going to stop here for a second just to see if there are any questions. And yes, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm here to answer your questions. So let me see the questions. Hold on. Okay, so the question is, what happened if my boy is actually, is not comfortable talking with me about those topics? So great question, because I can even share that my older son, he doesn't feel comfortable talking with me about sexual topics. And I'm like, just talk with me about everything. So I think it's very normal. And what we need to do is actually, I want to say, force them, meaning tell them, look, I have an important topic I want to talk to you. You don't have to answer. So it's not about, they don't have to have like a two-side conversation. It's okay for them just to sit and listen to us for 3 minutes. Tell them, I'm only going to talk about 3 minutes, and then you can go to your room to do whatever. But for the 3 minutes, just listen to me. And if you have questions, you can ask me. If you don't want to ask me anything, that's okay. And if you don't want to look in my eyes, you don't have to look in my eyes, right? So it's just like, let's talk. I just want to share with you. And then share with your son or also your daughter, share with them the information you want, right? So it's, if you want to talk about pornography, then share about, you can even use like these webinars. I attended this webinar, and there was this woman, she talked about something very interesting about pornography. And I just want you to know that porn is ABC. And then you can even finish with that and, ask them, do you have any questions? And if you say no, I just want to go, let him go. And if he actually has more questions, have him ask. And if if you see that he just want to go, just say, okay, I just want you to know that it's important for me to have an ongoing conversation about that. So we probably going to talk more about that, because it's actually more than a 3-minute discussion, but I want to respect the fact that you might feel awkward. I feel awkward about that, but it's also important conversation. So yes, they feel uncomfortable or awkward. Yes, we feel uncomfortable or awkward, but we still need to have that conversation. It doesn't have to be like a two-side conversation. And I think that if we remember that we just want to share with them the information and we make it short, then it's easier. And I can also share that sometimes I have those conversations in the kitchen. So I'm doing something else and they're just like next to me. I tell them, I want to talk with you about something. And I just share with them. So it's not like official, and it's just like a conversation that we're having. And if you have a car, then many parents can have that conversation while they're driving. So there's not like, eye contact. So it's really about like finding the situation that it's not like heavy, and don't force them to talk back to you. Just ask them to listen. And they feel uncomfortable, it's okay. They feel awkward, it's okay. They just need to listen. And you'll be surprised that they actually listen. They want to hear about that. They actually want to talk about that. They want adult, and especially their parents, to talk with them about it, because no one else is talking. And it's like they're curious and they want to understand what's going on. So they will listen, even if they will not ask back. And you'll be surprised. Maybe if you'll ask your son, like, what do you know about that? Or do you have any questions? I'm open to answer anything. He might actually say, oh, you know what, then what this is, or, what that. And if you, like, let's say they ask you a question that you're not sure what the answer, you can definitely say, you know what, I don't know what the answer is. Let me check and I'll get back to you. Just remember to get back, because then they will think that you're avoiding that. So we don't have to know everything. when they ask us, but it's okay to check and then go back to them. So I hope that answered. Let me check if there are, okay. So the question is about the Hot Girls Wanted on Netflix. I watched that. It was very interesting. Yes. Give me a second. I'm just reading that. Okay. So the question is really about, would you say to tell our kids to avoid visiting certain websites? So the answer for that specifically, and also seeing like Hot Girls Wanted, and I just want to say that it was specifically, they're trying to show, as you wrote also on the message, that it's not really, the amateur porn is not really amateur porn, and there is a lot of forcing in this field. And like for me, it's also, they were talking about condoms, right? The fact that the industry moved from LA to Florida, because in LA they forced use of condom, and in Florida not. So it's like, great topic to talk with our teenagers, like why there are no condoms on pornography, and actually you should have a condom when you have sex. So to answer the question about would you say to tell our kids to avoid visiting certain website, the answer is you can say, and I want to encourage you that if you say that, explain to them why, right? So if I'll just tell my son, you cannot have a candy, right? Or like there are many brands of candies, and I'm like, you just cannot have this brand of candy. Guess what will happen? He will go and have that, especially this brand of candy, because that's all he will want. Because mommy said he cannot have that, so it's probably interesting to see why. But if I will tell him, you know what, I don't want you to have this kind of candy, this brand, because this brand, they use like chemicals that are not healthy for you. And this brand, their warehouse is not clean, or this company is treat its employees badly, right? So like there is a reason why I don't want him to have that candy. Then there is higher chance that he will actually not have that candy. And if look, let's actually have that conversation a little wider. Should I tell my son not to watch pornography, right? And even if I will explain to them why, the answer is you can tell them, but they're probably going to watch pornography at the end. Because in a way, I want to say it's inevitable. They're going to watch pornography. We know that adults also watch pornography. So in some point in their life, they're going to watch pornography, and probably it's going to start when they're teenagers. So it's not about telling them don't watch pornography. It's about telling them, look, I rather you not to watch pornography because it's not meant for people your age. However, if you do find yourself watch pornography, I need you to know A, B, C, D. And you can then say, and also look, there are many websites for pornography. I don't want you to use websites where there are, when amateur porn might be with violence, right? So websites that shows violence, I don't want you to use them, because this is objectification, like strong this is sometimes hard word to say, a strong objectification, or maybe there is like violence against women. There is rape sometimes in pornography. So you can definitely have this communication of what does it mean when you watch things that degrading women. What does it, if you watch those websites, you're actually telling them that they should keep creating that. So that's like a communication that you definitely, I encourage you to have with your son or daughter. But know that at the end of the day, it's going to be their decision of what they're going to watch, right? And you will never know what they watch, right? It's not that they're going to come to you and say, oh, I watched this, and I saw that on pornography, right? Like we as adults don't do that. So no way they will do that as well. And it's not that we can actually ask them, what are you watching pornography? So we can definitely have those conversations with them about what's available in pornography and what does it mean if they see that, and how they can avoid then watching it again, right? And also another thing that comes to my mind right now is also telling them that sometimes we enjoy watching things that are like wrong or violent, and it doesn't mean, that we are bad people, and it doesn't mean that we want to create that in our own life, in our own relationship. So also like put that in a place of, if you do feel aroused when you saw something that is like bad or wrong or like violent against people, and you feel like ashamed that you had those feelings, know that it's it's okay, in a sense of that it doesn't mean that you actually want to do that. It doesn't mean that this is something that you need to create in your own life, in your own experience. But great question. I think you had actually another question there. um, yes. There was also in that question about race play porn. So again, I think that it's my thought. It's not about is it right or is it wrong. It's more about what is the message that you want to share with your teen about that. Meaning saying, there is race play porn, and for me, it's blank, right? Because it's what is for you. They need to hear your thoughts. They need to hear your values. They need to hear your message, not mine. Because that's what important, what you believe. Because at the end of the day, they will make their own decision, right? But if you share with them what it is for you, what you feel about that, why you think like that, then they will take it and they will have a better way to decide for themselves, because they heard something that it's not only what they're watching in pornography. They also heard your voice. And if you think about it, you're doing that in other areas as a parent, right? We always, we share with them things that we don't want them to do, and many times we share with them why not. And the same, we're not going to be with them when they're going to watch pornography. We will not know what they watch in pornography, but we can definitely talk with them on what's available. And I do want to stay and remind yourself, don't start with that, right? Like baby steps, like set the foundations. But if you feel that they actually, the conversation is going and they listen, then definitely as you move on with the conversation, you can even talk about that and share your thoughts about that, and what you believe. So at the end of the day, they can make the decision for themselves. And hopefully, you help them to make, I want to say, like the right decision. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. So there is a show called History of Curse Words. I don't know about that show on Netflix. Well, but it's also important to know. I need to know what's the rate, the age rating for that, because I will say that many times it's not rated for kids. And what I do want to take actually with that question is, there are many shows on Netflix. Yes, you should definitely monitor the how your kids user rating, like they make sure that you put them on the right age rate group. And also, if you do open them to specific shows, make sure that you put it back to the rating, and also monitor what they're watching. They don't have to watch everything. Think about it. If they will go to the movies, they will not be able to see our, rated R movies, because someone will not let them in. And the same needs to be with TV. But the thing is that in the TV, we are the gatekeeper. So we need to monitor that, and we need to see what our kids are watching. And if there is something that we think is not for them, again, we need to share with them, not just saying, well, this is not for you, but actually share with them why it's not for you. Why we think they should not see that. And we also need to remember that sometimes we tell them do not watch it and we block it on our Netflix, and they will go to their friends and watch it there. So this is why the conversation is super important in understanding what they're watching, and if there is anything we don't want them to watch, we literally have the conversation of why it's not for them. Right? Let me check more. Yes. So I'm not sure that that show is actually for it's probably rated R and above. That's the thing. Another question I have is about monitoring and filtering. What's my takeaway on that? And I think it's a great question. And I want to share that I am like, you can definitely put monitoring on filtering or on your son or daughter phone. However, by the time they're 13, I actually joke that it takes them less time to hack that than for you to install it. So it cannot be like the sole solution. It has to be comes with a conversation of like why you want to put it, what are your concerns, what are you trying to avoid by doing that, and just know that, and know that they will probably bypass that if they will choose, if they will want to. And the thing is that you will never know that they bypass that. So you will think that they're safe, or you will think that they are not watching what you don't want them to watch, but they will actually do that without telling you. So it's not that I'm against that. I'm just saying that it cannot be the only solution. It needs to come also with a conversation. And we always need to follow on conversation, regardless of the fact that they have the filtering or the monitors, or the monitor apps. So let me check if there are any other questions. So, okay, so I think that those are the questions for today. And also we are in the 1 hour promise. So I want to thank you so much for being here, for asking questions. I really hope that you were able to learn and to gain more confidence in having the conversation with your son or daughter. And also, if you have any questions, any thoughts, any concern, please feel free to reach out. You can also schedule a 15 minutes discovery call with me. And also the replay, I'm going to send the replay tomorrow morning. You're going to get the replay and it's going to be available for you. And yes, thank you so much for being here and for taking a great first step to talking with your son and daughter. And I look forward to being in the journey with you. So bye and good night. Thank you.